Hello, 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 and welcome to the $1 Million Electrician Podcast, where we help home service pros like you supercharge your business and spark up those sales.
I'm Joseph Lucani, and together with my co-host Clay Newmeyer, we're here to share the secrets that have helped electricians sell over $1 million from a single service van.
Now it's time for sales. It's time for scale. It's time to become $1 million electrician. Hello, 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 and welcome back. Joe, we've got a great show today. I am pumped to get into this. These three things that determine whether they will buy from you or not. And guys, if you're listening to this again, then you've got a couple of reasons you're going to want to stick around today and make sure that you're here till the end, because there's a number of things that go into these three tens that we're trying to achieve. And what these three tens are is we're trying to be our person show up as a 10 for the customer. We're trying to have our company show up as a 10 for the customer. And we're trying to have our product or service show up as a 10. And it's at the intersect of these three tens that people ultimately decide to do business with us. And just like you've said so many times before, I guess so isn't really a full commitment. It's not one that we want to hang on to, and it's not one we want you to hang on to. So by sticking with us here today, guys, you're going to learn a number of things you can do in your marketing, in your sales process, in your presentations, especially in your solutions design, the options presentation that you're doing. Joe, how excited are you for this conversation, brother?
I mean, I'm always pumped, but like that little sprinkle in the back that we're going to help with some options, that gets the engine running. I'm pumped. I'm ready to rock and roll with this.
You're like an options fiend, man.
I can't help it. I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is I like puzzles. I like challenges. So when someone comes to me and says it can't be done, I like looking at it and say, well, can it really not be done? Or are we just not looking at the full scope?
It's a good way to look at that. And I know that so many people like that you're that way because of how much it helps when they get into it with you and literally like, hey, are you sure you can build 6 options for this?
Let's freaking try me. Let's go. It's the only one way to find out, right?
If you remember a while back, we did an episode where I think we did 3 sets of options in like 8.5 minutes on calls where we were still doing this live in the podcast group and people were making suggestions. So it wasn't that we made it up. It was impromptu on the spot. And I think that was a world record, even though it might not be recognized by Ripley's just yet.
Yeah, not like that. I'm pretty sure fastest option creation is not one of the things that they have listed, but it should be. It should be.
Awesome, brother. Well, this all started last week when we started talking about record-setting rapport and some of the early steps in our consistent sales process that help electricians show up as that personal 10 and even have that company begin to resemble that 10 as well. Again, there's a number of things here, but what do you say we jump into the wins of the week first to help us drive this chat?
I'd be so down with that because we had some serious heavy-hitting ones from this week.
What's your favorite this week, Joe?
My favorite has to be from the Hayes team. And it really blows my mind. Can I just dive into it?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, what happened?
So what ended up happening was they were in a situation that actually would have cost them the job. They had to reschedule the call for a situation. And that never puts you in the right foot in front of the customer. But the customer was like, oh, actually that works. Your rescheduling is actually on my birthday. And that's the thing. They could have just ignored it, but they didn't. They were customer service focused. So what they did is they planned on actually getting him a gift. Like they got him this large gift basket and wrote him a really heartfelt thing and hand delivered it from the whole team. And the thing is he at the end was like really getting emotional and saying, I just want you to know, no one even called or got me a gift. You guys are the only ones who took care of me this birthday. And I can't possibly imagine what that would have done for someone in that kind of dark place. So this is just an insane level of customer service and dedication to commitment.
No one else got him a gift.
No one. Like literally everyone in this person's life either forgot about him or didn't think his birthday was important enough to get him a gift. But the electrician who he mentioned once to showed up with an entire gift basket. And it really blows my mind because those are the things that separate what actual premium service is. Like everyone talks about premium service, like, oh, you do this and do that, but they don't focus on the character development that comes from it. When you've made an impact on someone's life on that personal of a level, this person is going to refer you He is going to shout your name from the mountaintops. And you would have to massively screw this individual over for him to consider going anywhere else. So you've made a customer for life. But even beyond that, you improved someone's day when it would have otherwise have gone bad.
Wow. Yeah, that's big, man. And I heard a few things that stand out from this.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, we know that they originally had the sale because this story actually begins with a rescheduling.
Hmm.
So they make the rescheduling call. They'd already earned the sale, which means they'd already had these three tens, at least a nines to get the sale.
Hmm.
They recognize it's his birthday. The guy's pleased enough with them to have them there on his birthday. They
Hmm.
go ahead and give a gift. But then the third piece that I heard was that Juliet did a happy call,
Yep.
right? So happy calls, as we know, are important too to maintain this. And this all speaks to what we call sales satisfaction. And it's
Hmm.
been a while since we broke this down, but satisfied action, right? It's a compound word. So it's not just to say that, hey, we met mediocrity and everything was good and no one complained. That's not what satisfaction means. When you
Hmm.
really break it out, it's they were so satisfied that they took an action on our behalf.
Hmm.
And that's what we're aiming to cause. And so, like you mentioned, to cause referrals, to cause repeat business, to cause our lifetime customer value to rise up and our relationships to deepen so we never have to worry. Like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this guy's a club member with them, but he's going to be treated like and feel
Yeah.
like a club member with them, if you know what I mean.
I 100% agree. I honestly don't know if he was a club member or not because I'm not sure exactly which option they took. But as a result, I would 100% agree that this person is going to have such a brand loyalty. But like, even then, despite all the business, if you could think of your customers on that personal of a level, you are going to create an industry change that no one would have ever seen. Instead of the electricians being seen as contractors, we're seen as close personal friends here to really help you in the place where you need it most, your home where your family lives.
At a time when everyone's going AI and more the path of least resistance. How can I squeeze more in my productive day through
Hmm.
less personal efforts towards
Hmm.
actual engagement with a person? At a time when they could have sent an email, they
Hmm.
sent a gift basket. It was the only one. I'm with you, Joe. That's huge. Definitely a favorite. But I actually love Raf's win. Raf and Nate had a big
Oh,
win this
oh
week
my
too.
God. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
You may know this one better than me. So do you want to take it?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, anyone who knows Raph, he's a very particular individual. He's probably one of the nicest men you'll ever meet. And I love him very greatly. He's a phenomenal guy. What it was he went out to a call, and I believe it was for a larger project. It was something to the extent of there was some concerns going on with the home, and he recognized that it was going to be end up being a larger scale thing based on the extent of the damage that was found. And he ended up going in and connecting with the client. And the reason why he connected was they were both able to speak Spanish. So
Mm,
what it was he was addressing her in her primary first language at a time when no one else was really making any of the efforts to do so. Secondly, then, now that's great. You bond with connection, you build a rapport. She wants to work with you. Awesome. But then comes the handy engineer type son who has to be negotiated through because he's the one managing the mother's account. So immediately, it doesn't matter how good the rapport is. You're like, I've now got to go through this logic brain individual who's out of state, who's not going to be here. He does the presentation remotely. This person is so convinced that Raf is the right person, he verbally agrees with him and his mother, like, yes, this is the kind of guy we want to work with. You're right, mom. You're a good judge of character. They then say, we want to do a 50% deposit. It's like, I think, a $25,000 job. But
yep.
obviously, she doesn't have that much liquid right now. They couldn't get financed. She goes, I will go to a bank and I will get the money for you. They literally drive there together, go there, get the bank. Like she comes like and meets her at the bank, and she physically hands over the money and thanks him emphatically that he was the best person for this project. And then went on to compliment his service and talked about how good he was and how confident she was that he was going to be the right fit for everything. And even sat down and was giving him like business advice on how he could scale and grow and how he could bring this level of service to more people. It,
Wow.
it blew my mind.
Wow, man. That's huge. And it's like you said, I want to touch on this actually and just say like Raf is one of the best electricians I know. he is absolutely one of these electricians who, like so many, like 90% of us, 95% of us didn't have rather the marketing, the business, the sales training.
Hmm.
And it like robs from our confidence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just always good to see someone break through on the confidence side and realize, wow, I am good at talking to people. Wow, I
Hmm.
am good at developing rapport. Wow, people do love me. Wow, I can break through this little wall that we set up for ourselves and be more, have more, do more than we've ever done before. And
Hmm.
that's completely relevant to what we're talking about today. Joe, there's one more win, but this is your personal anecdote where you had
Mm.
a big takeaway. I think it was like a 9 to 10x job
Yeah.
that
I
you were
remember that
talking
one.
about before. You want to share that one too?
Yes. So this was back when Tesla was really coming out and everyone was all about them. So I'm going to say right about like 2019, 2020, right around there. And I remember going to this call and it was out in the boonies and it was a big, beautiful house. And the customer's name was Ajit. Really, really nice guy. He met me at the door and pretty much told me that he was under the impression that this job shouldn't cost more than $1,000. He knew exactly what he wanted. He said, I've talked to people, I've talked to the dealerships. They insisted when I purchased a car, it wouldn't be more than this. So I'd like to see some quotes, but just once again, it's going to be in this range. So I looked at his home and I recognized that it is going to be a more involved installation. We had to physically route up a wall and run it physically across an attic and then back down and then through a door. It was an extensive thing. But all the quotes he had gotten was just surface mounted conduit. And then you'd have to drive along the house and like plug it into a spot that's not ideal.
Hmm.
We gave him a really top option where it was like, everything's recessed in the wall. I'm going to cut pretty much 3/4 of your walls. The side of the house, the rooftop, everything's going to get cut. And I'm going to paint and spackle, highest end chargers, service up for like everything. And it ended up being like a $9,500 top option. Now, as you know, we create these top options not to sell them, but to create the peak of what an experience would look like. And he stopped me on that one. He's like, okay, we'll do that one. And I was really like taken aback because I was like, well, why? He's like, I know I told you what the price was, and that's what the price I'd like to pay, and that is what I was told it was. But what I see is you do have options somewhere in that range, which makes me think that you're not trying to take advantage of me. I could simply just pick one of those. But I do like when things are better, and I do like what you have. I just needed to see what the floor was. But now that I know you can do what I'm asking for, I am willing to give you more than what you're doing. So, yes, let's take care of that top option. What do you need? And he wrote me a 50% deposit right there, and we were done. And I walked away like, if I had leaned in and just assumed that the price he was telling me was all he'd be willing to pay, and that's all the experience that he's looking for, I would have likely offered him the lowest options, like the typical contract, maybe good, better, best. Maybe they would have been up to 5,000. I would have given him a worse solution. And he would have said no. And my stereotype would have been confirmed rather than broken. And it was a really beautiful experience because two things were a win there, you know?
Yep, definitely. I love that message so much for a couple reasons. One, congratulations on receiving a deposit 4x what he was looking to pay in the first place for the entire
Mhm.
job.
Thank you.
Two, again, this is falling on the sword of doing the right thing. And this speaks perfectly to these 310s and everything we're trying to do in rapport. So often, Joe, we're met with hesitance in this, presenting solutions above and beyond what anyone's asked for. But we miss this huge piece that's like, is it ethical not to?
Mm.
You're the electrician, you're the subject matter expert that knows what can be done. Think about how many people out there really have no idea even what an electrician can do or does. Like,
Mhm.
how many people are searching for a bathroom fan replacement, having no idea that an electrician is the person to do that job for them?
Yeah, I mean,
They
a
don't
lot of
know.
times, yeah, a lot of times in my area, people call HVAC companies for that
Yeah.
because they assume that most electricians, and like some people will say, "Oh, I don't do the ducting. I'll cut in the unit, but you're gonna have to call someone to cut in the ducting. I don't do any cuts like that." So they call an HVAC company, and they're the ones who do it, or a dryer repair company, and they're the ones who do it. Why don't we just provide a turnkey solution and they pay only one bill, and they get a better experience and a lifetime guarantee that comes with it?
That's huge. And that's like the first piece is the ethical question. And I always enjoy watching people's wheels turn and them have this realization with us on these calls where
Mhm.
it's like, Oh my gosh, you're right. I've been underserving for years.
Mm-hmm.
They see it as if I offered more, I'd be seen as salesy, and that would take away from my character, from my rapport here, from my company, and even from my product or service, which is clearly pushy. In this case, this story that you just shared is a prime example of how that's actually completely counterintuitive and it's not actually what's happening at all. They don't know what's possible half the time with your help. The second piece that I love about what you said is turnkey. And we've touched on this so many times, but if you really want to get your product or service to a 10, it can't be just about the quality of work because you haven't done work yet.
Exactly. Like if you think about it, so many electricians are like, my lines are straight. You open my panel, it's neat, clean, 90-degree angles on everything. They got a level in there to make sure they're good. But then the panel is a quarter-inch crooked, or the screws are not all vertical or horizontal. And the customer comes by and is like, it looks a little off here. And they're complaining because that's the only thing the customer can see. Focus on what they can see and appreciate and enjoy, and don't neglect those experiences.
I love this example of what you're just saying. Remember, you were here visiting. We did a podcast together, and we were actually talking about taking photos, the right
Mm-hmm.
photos to set you up. And this little rule of thumb really helps here. If you took a picture of your finished work and there's
Mm-hmm.
still a hole in the wall, bead of caulking or silicone missing, right? There's even dust or particle matter on the things you haven't cleaned up yet. It doesn't matter what trade it is. The picture is incomplete because in a
Mm-hmm.
homeowner's eyes, that's not what I want to pay for.
Exactly. You can't take this and actually market with it. That's the thing. Like, if you look at your pictures when you were done, and it also describes as a training manual to your technicians, this is what a finished product should look like. When we finish a panel, we should know 3 feet left, 3 feet right, 3 feet in front of it, cleared space, clean floor, new light ahead of it, service outlet, checks mark. It looks good. That's what we want to see. Sticker on the front. Because then when I take a picture, the customer can appreciate it. I could market it, and then I could also put it into our training manuals as a standard for an item.
I love that. I love that. Speaking of marketing, let's just go front to back quick, bit of
Mm-hmm.
rapid fire back and forth
Go
on
for it.
how we're building these 310s up with each of our little process components and the
Mm-hmm.
flow of how everything's meant to work and how it's meant to support this so that people really have no other choice because no one's as prepared as you are. No one's invested as much as you have into the process. Again, going against AI and all the shortcuts, guys, we're a bit old fashioned, but look at the wins that we continue to bring here.
Mm-hmm.
We're at an interesting time in history where old fashioned is coming back around and just having the skill sets of basic human communication and care and thoughtfulness are going to pay dividends for you and your business. So call us old fashioned, but we're going to keep cashing checks in the name of old fashioned, if you know what I mean. So
Mm-hmm.
starting with marketing, you've probably heard us, if you've been following for a while, talk about things like our Facebook cheat sheet and how important organic marketing is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because we're giving value and we're sharing character experiences and we're doing something called affinity posts that actually relate to people in their lives. Like, hey, you're a dad, I'm a dad. Dad stuff's easy to talk about. We could
Mm-hmm.
share that with so many people. You're a neurodivergent, I'm a neurodivergent. We share that and have that in common with so
Mm-hmm.
many people, right? I know that you did different walks and runs and different charitable things in your
Mm-hmm.
business. I'm on the board of directors for youth and in adverse conditions on my side, and we talk about it sometimes. All these things are like things that
Mm-hmm.
other people have similarities with. And so it's like a beacon in a dark room. Who are they attracted to? The company that doesn't talk about it, doesn't actually put themselves out there at all, doesn't communicate with their audience regularly, consistently, or the company that does. Hands down,
Right.
marketing helps us achieve this, gets our person, our company, and our product and service to a 10. Joe, what do you say to that?
I feel like something just came to mind, and it's almost like a digital billboard in a way. Where imagine driving past something on the highway and I see the sign. It's like, oh, service loop, service loop, service loop. That may remind me of the company, but it wouldn't remind me of your character. But if
Mm,
I'm on Facebook and every day I see something where it's like, this is who you are, this is what you do, this is who you help, This is who you are. This is what you do. This is who you help. Eventually, there's going to be a post that sticks. And now I'm going to remember you better while also having already a pre connection to you. So when we meet, I might have things I want to talk to you about.
100%, man. So
Mhm.
that's what gets us the calls in the first place. Uh, Calls coming in, you're up, man. What's the next part of our play here that helps build these 310s?
So just so I understand, you're saying after we've gotten at what point?
Calls coming in,
Oh,
CSR
brighter day,
answers the
brighter
phone.
day
What
process.
now? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
right off the top. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I understood where you're going. But yeah, you're going to go on to do the brighter day process. Just starting off, hey, this is Joseph at Service Electrical. How can I help you today? How can I brighten your day? Coming off with high energy, high intention, but also putting in certain qualifications in place, such as before I look you up on file, are you a first class customer? Don't worry about that. We can always get to that later. And dropping little pieces of marketing in while also focusing on the relationship. Like, hey, what are you hoping to accomplish today? How can I help you? Oh, well, I had a service actually. Something came down, a tree came down, and took out my power lines. Well, instead of going, all right, well, what's your address? Well, let's just call a quick time out for a second. I'm so sorry that happened. Before we go further, is everyone okay? You guys good? That little empathy moment in the very beginning, that is the difference when someone actually takes off their customer hat and like, yeah, no, it's rough, man. I got two kids under 5. I got to make sure they're getting taken care of. Can you please come out and help me? Don't worry. I'll make sure we get this taken care of. I'll even bring in generator extension cords. You can get the TV running.
I love that. Last week we shared a win again from the Hayes team where they sold a 38K generator.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons they chose them, even though they were significantly higher, was because of that phone call experience that
Mm-hmm.
you just demonstrated right there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, personal, that character piece, upwards of a 10. They're setting the tech up as a 10. Many electricians make this mistake of thinking, well, I need someone electrically trained or an electrician to answer the phone.
No, hard
Why is
no.
that a bad idea, Joe?
We as electricians are problem solvers. Like, as a definition, we solve those problems and it becomes part of our character as a way. So when someone calls and says, hey, I don't know what it is. My kitchen countertop's not working. I tried resetting the breakers, but breakers aren't tripped. I don't know what it's going to be. Now, the thing is, the electrician hearing this goes, oh, it's tripped countertop GFI. But some electricians might also say, well, I don't want to waste my time with a trip GFI call. Well, there's no value there. I'm going to reset a button down. I don't want to waste my time. Hey, have you checked the countertop? What's that? Hey, you have any of those outlets with the red buttons? Press one of that. Beep. Oh, hey, the microwave came up. All right, thanks. Talk to you later. But really, you don't realize there was a rot hole in the bottom of their panel, completely unrelated. But if you had just run the play, you could have saved them from a bigger or worse experience because you took the time to be thorough and professional rather than just giving them butt service.
And that's just it, right? So then the tech shows up as a 10, as the CSR has set them up in that way. They're so excited to have you out to their home. Then you're checking in to make sure how well the CSR call went and if there's any complaints there. And you're
Mm-hmm.
really setting the expectation for that 5-star level service, as we do. But then by following that consistent play, running to the panel first, making sure to do thorough
Mm-hmm.
diagnostics with them, you're actually doing more than any other electrician has, would, or
Mm-hmm.
could because they're not well trained in doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Just by doing it consistently, you'll provide a better level of service. And so, character's a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Company's now definitely a 10 from marketing to CSR to tech. Everything's looking congruent, squeaky clean. And now
Mm-hmm.
your product or service is becoming a 10 as you're about to lay out, just like Joe did with that 10x sale, the complete list of solutions from the finest money you could buy to the most bare bones economical you could possibly dream up for them.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you go with?
I mean, it makes sense. You go with who you like, trust, and respect. If I'm someone that you can relate with, someone that you can understand and you feel understands you, it wouldn't even matter my price. That main emotional factor is very heavy and people underweight it. But then also that I've done a thorough professional job. Like you've mentioned, I'm going to the main electrical system. I'm doing a thorough report. I've done my diagnosis and I took the time in front of you. I didn't go to the van. I was at the kitchen table and I was designing those solutions and you saw me do it. There was no sorcery involved. I made it right here and then communicated in a way in their language with no trade jargon. Everything's verbally packaged in a way that even if they don't own a screwdriver, they would know what we're doing and why we're doing it. But then following up it's just a total package in a way the customer can follow you.
Absolutely. And speaking of follow up, even after that, you sell the job. Let's say there's an install crew to come. The work order process acknowledges this too by always
Yes.
making sure to have the what, the why, and the who attached so
Hmm.
that no one ever shows up without a clue or being second guessed and finding themselves in a pinch trying to make something up on the spot. Please.
Yeah. So just speaking to that particular situation, I can imagine customers really getting turned off because imagine, let's say I sell a job, right? And they build a relationship with me and I'm the rapport guy and they really like, trust, and respect me. And then my installers come and they don't know the who, the why, or the what. They just know the what. I'm going to Mrs. Jones and I'm going to put in 3 recessed lights over her kitchen dining room. That's all you're doing. So your first thought is, Mrs. Jones? Yep. Look, we're putting some pot lights in for it. No. But being, hey, Maria, I've been so excited to work with you. Joe said some amazing things. And just creating that rapport so they understand, I know why we're doing this. So when you host Thanksgiving this year, you don't have to worry about everything being too dim. Everyone can see what they're doing and you can really have that experience again. I'm so excited to do that just before the holiday, too. Good job, Maria, getting that done.
100%, man. And speaking of installs, and then the win earlier with Juliet and this happy birthday, there's a picture of their installer delivering the
Mm-hmm.
gift with that homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Then the happy call finally to wrap this up in a big bow, just like they did. That really brings everything together. So that first point of contact, right to the end, is
Mm-hmm.
again putting closure on this and making sure that they were handled accordingly, appropriately, and professionally to that 5-star level. And even just ensuring that you get that review, that you're in a
Mm-hmm.
position to develop further referrals and repeat business. And I want to share something important because this
Mm-hmm.
also was something we discussed in class the other day. Every once in a while, one of our clients will use this happy call process and find a not so happy call.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very important distinguishment. That's not a failing point. That's a system working for you.
Mm-hmm.
We are human. We make errors. Installers rush sometimes. Sometimes in sales, we rush. Sometimes we fall short. Sometimes we don't do the process 100%. We're really trying to be as consistent as possible, but we're people. We have human error. And that happy call helps close that gap and give us another opportunity to make it up, fix that 4-star or 3-star review, whatever it is, and get
Mm-hmm.
back in the best possible graces. And I've still seen this happen. In fact, Juliet did this where a 4-star turned to a 5-star after they did that in prompt time, making that happy call, correcting the situation, addressing it completely, going over and above. And that's what this is all about in the first place, isn't it?
It's really an amazing thing. And the thing that really blows my mind is that what they did was they stood out in their environment. But the happy call really helps you in one capacity. And that is if you're happy, tell a friend. If you're unhappy, tell me. So the thing was is by doing the happy call process within the 48 to 72 hour window, you are far likelier to catch a customer before they've wrote a negative review, saving you from a bad review and correcting a situation where you could have lost a customer. So I look at this as a situation where I say, thank you so much for your transparency and honesty, because that's the real reason we call. We always want to ensure you got the best experience with us. And if we've done anything to drop the ball here, I want you to know that we're going to do everything that we can to rectify the situation. So you leave looking at this as a 5 out of 5.
I love
So
that, Joe.
thanking them rather than being like, well, what went wrong?
I really love that, man. We're out of time on this episode,
Oh,
but really,
man.
really reflect on this, guys. If you're with us here at the end of this one, then look around you. Everyone is taking shortcuts. Everyone's looking to AI to help us
Mm-hmm.
communicate. Everyone's trying to do the least and expect the most. And all you have to do, and just do it consistently, is keep showing up for the person, keep showing up as a person for the people, for
Mm-hmm.
that person in front of you. And what you'll find is you're going to be able to follow along with what we did here today in that full discussion, stage by stage, and set up these 310s and then maintain them throughout. And you'll find that you've got bigger sales, more sales, longer lasting and deeper relationships with the kind of people that you actually want to have on your calendar again and again and again. I can't sing enough praises for this one, Joe, or you. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the $1 Million Electrician Podcast.
We hope you're buzzing with new ideas that charged up to take your business to the next level.
So don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with fellow electricians. Together, we'll keep the current flowing.